Hey, I'm Scott and welcome back to my garage gym. So today I want to cover the key muscles used in the golf swing and give you a general overview of how to train them. It's that time of year where many golfers are putting their clubs away, and it's time for them to get in a little bit better shape over the winter so that when they come back in the spring they can come out firing and maybe have a few extra yards off the tee. So the golf swing is a total body movement. We're effectively using just about every muscle from head to toe, but the key muscles in the golf swing are obviously our calves. They play a significant role. Hamstrings, quads, glutes, lower back, abdominals, even the pecs are involved, but clearly the lats, and then your shoulders, and then your arms are involved in the golf swing too. So, and your upper back. So basically the whole body needs to be trained. Now, the best way to train the entire body to improve your strength is, in my view, training with barbells. And we like to use natural human movement patterns, and that would entail the squat, the deadlift, the bench press, and the overhead press, and also pull-ups and chin-ups and whatnot. So I'm going to go through each of those exercises. I'm going to provide you with a few other options, and down the road I'm going to produce more detailed videos on how to train each body part so that we can hopefully get stronger, and that will allow us to generate some more club head speed. Okay, so the deadlift is a great exercise because it trains the hamstrings, the lower back, the core, the muscles of the abdomen, the lats, the upper back, and even the rotator cuffs get some work in that exercise, a little bit of work, and then out through the forearms. So this is an exercise that ultimately you can lift the most weight with it. I believe the world record for the deadlift now is over 1,100 pounds, legitimate deadlift, whereas I think the squat is a little bit less than that. So the deadlift trains the most muscle groups, whereas the squat trains the most muscle mass, and we'll get into that in a second. So many people, and a large part of the medical community as far as dealing with older golfers and older people in general, kind of shy away from using the deadlift as far as an exercise that should be in an exercise program, or recommending the deadlift. If you have any kind of a back issue or back injury or whatever, I understand that completely. Now, I've been training the deadlift for the last few years, even though I have a back issue that I've been dealing with for 20 years. I've got a low back issue. The first time I herniated that disc was over 20 years ago. And every now and then I'll herniate it again, and it can be just bending over to pick up a light dumbbell that can herniate the disc if I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing. Using my legs, bending over with good posture, and all that stuff. So it's understandable that some people are going to shy away from training the deadlift. It's a technical exercise. You have to do it correctly. You've got to make sure your back is in good position so that you'll avoid injuring your back. With that said, you don't have to train it with substantial weight. You can train it for more reps and more sets if you want to. And so you don't have to try and deadlift 500 pounds. Obviously, if you're new to strength training, you start at a much lower weight. You start at a low weight and build yourself up. But you can train it as part of your overall strength training program, and I really recommend it because it really hits so many muscle groups. Now you can do another version of the deadlift called the Romanian deadlift. The deadlift starts out with the bar on the floor. You pick the bar up and get into this position, whereas the Romanian deadlift, you take the bar out of the rack and you actually start in this position, and then you bend over and the bar never touches the floor. So because of that, you're obviously going to train that exercise with a lot less weight, and it has a tendency to have much more focus on the low back and the hamstrings, just because you're training such limited weight compared to your normal deadlift. Another back exercise that also will get the hamstrings engaged is back extensions. So if you get on a Roman chair, I think they call it, something like that, where you lay on top of it, your trunk hangs down over it. Generally, you can hold your hands in front of your chest or behind your head, and you extend back upward. Over time, as you're training with more reps with that particular exercise, you can actually add some weight to it as well. And that's going to be a much more targeted exercise for the low back and the hamstrings, and the glutes will get a little bit involved as well. So those are those exercises that target the low back. You've got to have something that targets that lower back because it plays such a significant role in the golf swing, as do the hamstrings. So what I have found is with many golfers are unable to maintain their posture in basically in the downswing because they've got a weak lower back and weak hamstrings. Now the squat is a great exercise. It also hits the hamstrings. It hits the glutes a bit more, and it trains the thighs, the inner part of the thighs, the outer part of the thighs, and believe it or not, the version I train, the low bar squat, also gets the lower back involved too. So if you're able to combine the low bar squat with the deadlift, you're training a substantial amount of muscle mass, and both of them train that posterior chain that plays such a significant role in the golf swing. So I highly recommend that anybody who's physically able get involved with those two exercises. If you need to, get some coaching on them as well with an experienced strength coach. So now there are alternatives to the squat as well. If you don't want to put a bar on your back, you can do the leg press, you can do hack squats, and you can do something like a Bulgarian split squat. You're going to train a lot more with a lot more weight doing the leg press and the hack squat compared to what you'd be able to put on your back with the barbell squat. I like the squat the best just because of the range of motion that it puts you through, and it's a natural human movement pattern. So those other exercises are basically inferior to the squat, but if you don't want to train the squat, it's perfectly understandable if you've got back issues. Also, getting into the low bar squat requires that you've got some good shoulder mobility as well. Otherwise, you'll have to use a safety squat bar like I do. So those other exercises will train the legs, but they're not going to train as much of the posterior chain. You're not going to get much work into your low back with those exercises. So that's what makes them a little bit inferior. The bench press is also a little bit controversial for older athletes, especially people who have trained a lot over time, who've got some wear and tear. When they were younger, they didn't use good form, so they develop a shoulder issue, either in one or both shoulders, and so that can restrict mobility. So some people will shy away from doing the bench press. If you're new to training and you don't have any of those issues, then the bench press is the exercise that is going to help you develop the most upper body strength, because it's the one exercise you can train with the most weight. And it trains a good range of motion as well. So the bench press is obviously training your pecs, the front part of your shoulders, the triceps, and your forearms as well. The alternative to the bench press would be an incline bench press. If you have back issues and you can't lie down on a flat bench, or perhaps you've got some wear and tear in the shoulders, I find the incline bench press is a little bit easier to do, because I do have a shoulder issue myself, my left shoulder. And another exercise you can do is the incline bench press with dumbbells. So those are exercises that are still going to hit the pecs. So while you don't really think of the pectoral muscles being that involved in the golf swing, because of that impact position is where you would feel most of the impact with the pec muscles, where they're most engaged in the golf swing. If you squeeze your shoulders together, you're going to get that feeling of where you're at impact, right when you're hitting the ball and just through. And you're going to feel the pectoral muscles be engaged when you do that. So because they're attached to the shoulders then, and the shoulders play a significant role in the golf swing, it only makes sense to train the pecs, at least a little bit. You can also do push-ups with them, but at some point, once you get beyond being able to do 20 push-ups, you're not really building strength anymore, you're building muscle endurance. So it is a way to at least keep those muscles engaged. And I believe in balanced training. You don't want to just overtrain specific muscle groups. You want to have balance, because we're not just training to be able to hit a golf ball further. We're basically training for life as well. So the next exercise is the overhead press. This is the best exercise for training your strength in the shoulders. Not only are you using the front part and the side and the rear part of the deltoid, but you're using the upper part of the back and the muscles that are supporting the smaller muscles around the scapula, the rhomboids and whatnot too. So there's a whole bunch more muscle mass that's being engaged just beside the shoulders. And of course you're training the triceps and the forearms as well. And it has a very long kinetic chain. So if you're doing a standing overhead press, you're involving the core muscles and the glutes to an extent as well. And of course the legs, because you're standing on 2 feet. And it's a great exercise. So as opposed to a lot of these exercises that I see the golf fitness community offering, such as the pulley exercises, where you're in a golf posture and you're pulling this way to train a shoulder. You're training such little muscle mass there. And the fact of the matter is you don't feel the shoulder pulling in the golf swing. That's just not how it happens. Everything is unwinding, and the shoulder just happens to be attached to the arm, which is taking a lot of the impact up from the shaft, from the club head up through the arms into the shoulders. So it's a total body movement. You're just not doing this with the golf swing. Everything else is attached. The lats are involved at that point as well. So, mimicking that impact position with a particular exercise doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because there's a whole lot more going on besides just that little bit of muscle tissue in that part of the shoulder. So that's why I like the overhead press. You can do seated dumbbell presses. That's the second best exercise for training the shoulders. If you have mobility issues with the shoulder, then there are a whole bunch of other dumbbell exercises that you can try to at least train that muscle mass. So then, yes, then you can get involved with using the cables, the resistance bands, and the dumbbells to hit the shoulders from different angles if you can't train this particular movement. So that is the basically the best exercise for getting the shoulders involved, and I'll detail how to train those exercises as well. So last but not least are chin-ups and pull-ups, because we need to train the lats. The deadlift hits the lats from a different angle. We need another pulling exercise to get these lats nice and strong, because they are very involved in the golf swing, particularly as we're unwinding in that downswing. If you get yourself in this position, you'll really feel that tightness in the lat. So if you can't train, if you can't do a pull-up, you can't do a chin-up, many people can't, then by all means lat pull-downs. There's also bent over rows are great for hitting the middle part of the lats and the supporting muscles in the back. If you struggle with doing a bent over row like that, if you've got a back issue, then you can try doing the seated row, where you're either pulling with a straight bar this way or another device this way where the palms are facing in. So those are great exercises for hitting the lats as well. And all of those exercises, the upper body exercise, the bench press, the overhead press, and the chin-ups and the pull-ups and whatnot, those are all training your arms. And when you add in the deadlift, the forearms are getting a lot of work as well. So there's not really any need to do any separate exercises such as dumbbell curls or other stuff that just targets the triceps, because they're already getting a lot of work. If you want to do some bodybuilding in addition to training for golf, by all means, you can do those accessory exercises as well. So those are the key muscle groups used in the golf swing. Those are some exercises that you can train. In future videos, I'm going to discuss each body part and how to train them for sets and reps to get the most out of your training. So be on the lookout for those videos. Please visit the website, scottcolegolf.com. If you got a lot out of this video, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you down the road.